Hello, dear listener. I'd like to begin our time together by acknowledging the courage it takes to simply seek to understand imposter syndrome. Perhaps you're here because, despite your achievements, you carry a persistent feeling of being a fraud, waiting for the moment when everyone will find out that you don't belong where you are. Breathe deeply with me for a moment. In this space, there is no judgment, only understanding. The paradox of imposter syndrome is this: the more competent you are, the more likely you are to experience it. People who are truly unqualified rarely question themselves. It's those with genuine skills who most often doubt their worthiness. If you're feeling this, you're not alone. Studies suggest that about 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. High-level executives, renowned academics, celebrated artists, many privately confide these same feelings. Today, we'll explore this inner territory together with compassion and clarity, uncovering pathways to transform these doubts into a more solid foundation of authentic self-confidence. Understanding imposter syndrome, far beyond insecurity. Imposter syndrome goes beyond the occasional insecurities we all experience. It's a persistent experience where someone doubts their accomplishments and harbors an internalized fear of being exposed as fraudulent, regardless of external evidence of competence. Its manifestation can vary for each person, but some common patterns include: the perfectionist sets impossibly high standards and, when inevitably failing to meet them in every detail, feels like a failure, regardless of the project's overall success. The expert feels they must know absolutely everything before considering themselves competent. They're always seeking more certifications or knowledge, believing they still don't know enough. The natural genius believes that if they need to work hard at something, it proves their inadequacy. They feel they should be able to do everything effortlessly on the first try. The solo solver feels that asking for help will reveal their incompetence. They'd rather struggle alone than risk being found out. The overachiever works excessively to compensate for what they perceive as a lack of ability, often at the expense of their well-being. You might identify with one or several of these patterns, or your experience might be a unique combination. The key is to recognize that these thoughts don't reflect your objective reality. They are internal narratives that can be transformed. Roots of the phenomenon. Why do we feel this? To navigate beyond imposter syndrome, it's helpful to understand its possible origins. These feelings often stem from various sources. Formative messages. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where success was expected and only perfect performance was celebrated. Or maybe your achievements were consistently attributed to luck or external circumstances, not your abilities. Being the first or the only. People who are pioneers in their families or communities, the first to attend university, the only one of their gender or ethnicity in a certain position, often feel added pressure and a lack of role models they can relate to. Highly competitive work environments. Organizational cultures that prioritize competition over collaboration can exacerbate feelings of inadequacy. Major transitions, new roles, promotions, or significant changes often intensify these feelings as we find ourselves in unfamiliar territory. Social biases and stereotypes. Unfortunately, societal messages about who belongs in certain careers or positions still affect our psychology, even when we're not consciously internalizing those messages. Understanding these roots isn't about assigning blame, but about cultivating compassion for your experience. These feelings developed for understandable reasons and served a purpose, perhaps keeping you motivated or protecting you from disappointment. Recognizing this is the first step to developing a different relationship with them. Revealing signs, recognizing the syndrome in yourself. Imposter syndrome can manifest in subtle ways you might not have connected to this phenomenon. Some signs to watch for include dismissing achievements, downplaying successes by attributing them to luck, timing, or fooling others, rather than your skills or effort. Fear of failure, intense anxiety about the possibility of making mistakes, often leading to procrastination or perfectionism. Difficulty accepting recognition, feeling uncomfortable with praise or positive feedback, brushing it off as just being polite. Work overload, putting in more hours than colleagues to make up for perceived inadequacy. Self-sabotage, unconsciously creating situations that confirm your fears of inadequacy. Avoiding opportunities, passing up chances for growth out of fear of exposure or failure. Constant comparison, obsessively measuring yourself against peers, especially their most standout qualities. The yes, but syndrome, finding ways to explain why your accomplishments don't really count. Yes, I got the project, but it was only because no one else was available. Terror of being found out, a persistent fear that someone will realize you don't belong or aren't as smart as they think. If you recognize several of these signs in yourself, know that you're taking an important step by acknowledging them. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. Transformation strategies, from doubt to authentic confidence. Imposter syndrome isn't a fixed personality trait, but a set of thoughts and patterns that can be transformed. Here are practical strategies to begin this journey. 1. Externalizing the inner critical voice. A powerful step is to separate yourself from the inner critical voice, recognizing it as just a part of you, not your entire identity. Practice. When you notice imposter thoughts arising, try naming them. Oh, this is my imposter syndrome talking. Some find it helpful to give this voice a name, like the inner critic, or something lighter like the fear committee. This simple act of naming creates crucial distance between you and these thoughts. Compassionate questioning. When this voice emerges, practice questioning it with curiosity, not hostility. What real evidence do I have for this thought? How would I respond to a friend expressing this same doubt about themselves? 2. Documenting achievements and positive feedback. Our mind tends to downplay successes while amplifying failures. Countering this bias requires intentional documentation. Practice. Create a validation file, digital or physical, where you collect evidence of your abilities and contributions. Include praise-filled emails, positive reviews, thanks from colleagues, certificates, or anything that acknowledges your professional worth. Refer to this file when imposter feelings arise, not as a crutch, but as a realignment with reality when your brain tries to convince you otherwise. 3. Reframing failure and imperfection. Imposter syndrome thrives on the narrative that mistakes prove your inadequacy. Transforming your relationship with failure is crucial. Practice. Consciously adopt a growth mindset where every challenge is a learning opportunity. When facing a setback, ask, "What can I learn here?" instead of "What does this prove about me?" Keep a learning journal where you document not just successes, but especially valuable lessons from challenging experiences. Over time, you'll start to see that moments of failure often preceded your greatest breakthroughs. 4. Cultivating professional authenticity. The core fear of imposter syndrome is being found out. Paradoxically, allowing yourself to be more authentic, including about uncertainties, often reduces this fear. Practice. Experiment with small acts of authenticity. Maybe share a genuine doubt in a meeting, admit when you don't know something, or ask for help when needed. Notice that showing appropriate vulnerability usually strengthens professional connections rather than weakens them. Seek out role models who demonstrate this professional authenticity. People respected not for being perfect, but for being genuine, competent, and reliable. 5. Building a community of trust. Many keep imposter syndrome a secret, inadvertently strengthening its power. Sharing these experiences can be deeply liberating. Practice. Identify 1 or 2 trusted people with whom you can honestly share your imposter feelings. Often, you'll discover that even the people you admire most experience similar doubts. Consider starting or joining a peer support group or professional community where these conversations are normalized. Hearing others you respect share similar insecurities can be a powerful antidote to your own imposter syndrome. 6. Embracing your unique journey. Part of imposter syndrome comes from comparing yourself to an imagined model of how your path should be. Recognizing the uniqueness of your journey can lessen these harmful comparisons. Practice. Write your unconventional professional biography. an honest narrative that embraces the twists, turns, and apparent detours in your path. How has each experience, even those that felt like failures at the time, contributed to your unique skills and perspectives today? Consciously acknowledge that your particular blend of experiences, perspectives, and abilities is precisely what brings unique value to your work, not your ability to fit some imaginary mold. Daily practices to strengthen your authentic confidence. Transforming imposter syndrome requires consistent practice. Here are micro habits you can weave into your daily life. Morning recontextualization. Before starting your workday, take 30 seconds to consciously remind yourself, I'm here because I have valuable skills to contribute. I don't need to be perfect to be valuable. Realignment pause. When you notice imposter syndrome symptoms during the day, anxiety before a meeting, doubt after sharing an idea, take a micro-pause to breathe deeply and say inwardly, this is a growth moment, not an evaluation of my worth. Balanced reflection practice. At the end of your workday, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I do well today? Where can I improve? How will I carry this learning forward constructively? This exercise cultivates honest but balanced self-assessment, countering the tendency to focus only on perceived shortcomings. Conscious celebration. Take a moment to acknowledge at least one thing you feel proud of or satisfied with each day, no matter how small it seems. This practice recalibrates your brain to notice success, not just perceived failures. Digital boundary protection. If social media comparison fuels your imposter feelings, set conscious boundaries. Perhaps a specific time for checking, or a practice of following only accounts that inspire rather than intimidate. When to seek additional support. For many, the strategies we've discussed are enough to significantly transform the imposter syndrome experience. However, it's important to recognize when additional support might be beneficial. If feelings of fraudulence are significantly impacting your quality of life or ability to function professionally. If you notice anxiety tied to these feelings becoming overwhelming. If these feelings seem intertwined with depression or deeper self-worth concerns. If you identify patterns like recurring self-sabotage that resist your efforts to change. In these cases, working with a therapist or coach specializing in this area can provide the tailored support you need. Seeking this kind of help isn't a sign of weakness, but a commitment to your well-being and growth. Transforming the narrative, from imposter to evolving trailblazer. As we move forward in our careers and lives, perhaps the goal isn't to eliminate doubt entirely. After all, a degree of healthy questioning and humility is valuable. Instead, the aim is to transform our relationship with uncertainty and not knowing. Imagine replacing the imposter identity with the identity of an evolving trailblazer, someone who is simultaneously competent and growing, contributing value today while continuing to develop for tomorrow. From this perspective, not knowing all the answers isn't evidence of fraud, but simply part of the human condition. Making mistakes isn't confirmation of inadequacy, but the inevitable and necessary price of growth. This alternative narrative cultivates what we might call authentic confidence. Not the absence of doubt, but the ability to act meaningfully even when doubt is present. Not the certainty that you'll never fail, but the confidence that you can recover and learn when you do. A final invitation, from perfection to authenticity. As we conclude our time together, I'd like to leave you with an invitation. Experiment with shifting your focus from chasing perfection to cultivating authenticity. Perfection is a mirage always out of reach, an impossible demand that keeps imposter syndrome alive. Authenticity, on the other hand, is always available to you in this moment. The willingness to show up real, to offer your true abilities while remaining open to growth, to connect genuinely with others in your field. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a commitment renewed daily to honor your full humanity, your skills and limitations, your strengths and areas of growth. It's recognizing that what you have to offer, your unique perspective, lived experience, values, and vision, is precisely what the world needs from you. Breathe deeply with me one last time. Feel the space that exists between who you fear you are in your moments of doubt and who you truly are in your entirety. In this space lies your power, not the power of unflinching perfection, but the far deeper power of authentic presence. I'm here, walking alongside you on this ongoing journey of self-discovery and professional growth. One courageous, authentic step at a time.